Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi. Zevachim Daf Kuf Ches. We begin on Kuf Zayin with base 4 lines from the bottom. Itma, we have a discussion regarding the topic on hand, which is Hashoichet Umala B'chutz. As we learned the last couple of days, if one takes a korban, an animal meant for the Beis Hamikdash, and does it outside the Beis Hamikdash, he is chayev. Kares if it's b'mezid, if it's b'shogeg there's echatos, and this applies to whether he did merely the shchita outside, or zrika, or even ma'aleh, which means he took korban material and placed it on a sort of mizbeach and offered it outside the Beis Hamikdash. In either case, he's chayev. Now, when we speak about the act of ma'aleh, the act of akrava, it is only provided that there is a certain amount. There is a minimum, shiur, which is considered an act of akrava, which needs to be at least a kazayis. Okay, an olive's, worth of this basar. What happens in the following case? Itma, we have learned, hamale. So this fellow took the basar of the oila, put it on a mizbeach outside. The thing is, ve'ein by kazayis. The basar itself, its volume, is less than a kazayis. But ve'etzem, there's a bone attached to it. Mashlima le kazayis. So this bone, if factored in, gets him to the total of kazayis. Question is, do you factor in the bone? Rabbi Yechon Amar Chayev, he's liable. You can include the bone. Rish Lakish Amar no, Potter, he's exempt. Why? Rabbi Yechon Amar Chayev, he holds chiburei oilen. When something is attached to basar, which is meant for the mizbeach, it's considered one entity, one package. Chiburei oilen, ka'oilen dami. It's treated like korban material meant for the mizbeach. Hence, he has a shiur of kazayis. Rish Lakish Amar no, he's potter, is exempt. Chiburei oilen, just because the bone is attached to akrava material, lav ka'oilen dami. It's not counted in as part of the shiur. It's not treated likewise, and therefore, he doesn't have a shiur kazayis. By Rava. Now comes an interesting question by Rava, very similar, but slightly different. Instead of including the bone material, what about salt? We know that all korban materials have to be salted before placed on a mizbeach. Hamale roish ben yoina. He took just the head of the pigeon. Rashi says it was an oilas ha'oif, meant for the mizbeach in the Beis Hamikdash, and did it outside. Once again, she'im kazayis. It's comprised of material less than a kazayis, but umelach, you add the salt layer on it, mashlibel kazayis. Okay, so it has a layer of salt, and including the salt, you have a kazayis. Mao. How would you deal with this? Amalei Rava mid parzikol Ravashi. Well, it sounds like this question is exactly identical to the previous question. Lav hainu pluktayu. Isn't this question the very same as the machlokes between the Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish? Whether we can include the bone? Well, it says the word no, you can't compare the two discussions. Perhaps you can draw a line between the two. This question regarding salt can apply according to all opinions regarding the bone. How? Tiboy the Rabbi Yechon, this question of salt can apply according to Rabbi Yechon, who maintained that bone is included, but perhaps salt is different. And likewise, v'tiboy the Rish Lakish, it can be posed according to Rish Lakish as well, who says bone is not counted in, but perhaps salt is. How's that? The question of salt can be posed according to Rabbi Yechon, because adkan lo yik'amar. Rabbi Yechon Hassam, perhaps you can posit that it's only there by the bone, where Rabbi Yechon maintains that bone is factored in. Ella etzema, it's only because a bone is different. The mina de basar, it's one and the same entity. Right? Bone and meat go together. So therefore you can factor it in. Aval melach, but salt, a total foreign entity. The lav mina de bar yoinu, it's not of the same type as the bird. It's a different material. Loi, perhaps that should not be factored in. On the other hand, Tiboy Rish Lakish, the salt question can be posed according to Rish Lakish as well. Ad kan l'kamen Rish Lakish hasam. It's perhaps only there by the bone, where Rish Lakish discounts it. Elo the yiparish, because by a bone, if in fact if it separates, we learned this a while ago, right? If the bone happened to separate from the meat, love mitzvah lasuk. There's no mitzvah to separately bring the bone up. So inherently the bone is not really suitable. And that's perhaps why it's not factored in. Aval hachad yiparish. But over here by the salt, if in fact a salt layer slides off, there is a mitzvah lasuk to put it back on the mizbeach. Right? It's a mitzvah to have the carbon material layered in salt, covered in salt, so you got to put it right back. Why? Perhaps in this case it's different, and it could be considered one package, and can be factored in to the kazayis requirement. Or you can say no, no difference. Just as the bone is out, salt is out. Take it, we leave it unresolved. So, in order to be liable for malah, it needs to be at least a kazayis of material being offered on the mizbeach outside the mikdash. The question is, can we factor in bone and salt? We leave it unresolved. Actually, by the bone we had a machlokes. Rabbi Yechon says in, Rish Lakish says it's out. By the salt we left it unresolved. Rabbi Yisrael the Omer v'chul. Now we had a machlokes back in the Mishnah. There are two separate phases, two separate liabilities here. There's shoichet. If one takes a carbon meant for the Beis Hamikdash and does shchita outside, that's one isser, one chiyuv. Then there's phase 2 called malah, taking carbon material and placing it on an altar outside the Beis Hamikdash. Now, according to the Chachamim, it doesn't really matter whether in order to be chayiv for phase 2 for malah, it applies whether the carbon was shechted inside and then taken out, and malah was b'chutz, or the carbon was shechted outside to begin with, and then he proceeded with phase 2 outside malah. Either way, he's chayiv for malah. And Rabbi Yisrael responds by saying no. If the shechita was inside, in which case the animal was now suitable for Beis Hamikdash processing. Now, if he does malah outside, he's chayiv for malah. But if it was shechted outside to begin with, it was aborted from the get-go. It was a non-starter, unsuitable from the first moment. In that case, although he's chayiv for shechita, but not for malah, because he was malah deficient material. Chacham respond to that by saying, well, if you're going to work with that mind frame, then what about shechita inside? And then he took it outside. Well, as soon as he takes it outside of the confines of the Beis Hamikdash, bam, it becomes puzzle. And even you'll agree that in this case, if he does malah, he's chayiv. Apparently, malah applies even to deficient material. So what's the difference? Even if he does a shechita outside, where it's totally deficient, he should be chayiv for malah as well. Hey, Shiv Rebbe. So Rebbe sort of assumed the Risak leaders, he sort of argued on his behalf. He responded to the Chachamim. On behalf, Tachas Rabbi Yisrael. Okay, your question was, when the shechita was inside and taken out, it's also deficient. So why is he chayiv for malah? No, big difference. Malah shechad b'fnim, malah b'chutz. I can understand. If shechita was inside and then taken outside for malah, it's very different. It stands higher than when the shechita was outside. There was a moment in time when this carbon that was shechted inside was suitable for inside. Right now it's suitable before it was taken out. So it already assumed that identity. It was labeled as truly carbon material. So now, even though it was taken outside and it became puzzle because it's yaitse, but malah on that would be chayiv. As opposed to my case, when he does a shechita and malah outside, it never had a moment in time. It never had potential for mizbeach. It was puzzle from the get-go, right? Okay, so that's how he responds to the Chacham. We have another version of this response. Hey, Shimon. He undertook to respond, Tachas, instead of Rabbi Yisrael, once again making some sort of distinction. Malah shechet b'fnim, malah b'chutz. Sure, when the shechita was inside and then taken outside, it's way better Shekein kodesh makabel, because in that case, although it's currently possible because it was taken outside, which makes it possible because of a yaitse, but after all, theoretically, suppose a person takes it back inside and places it on the mizbeach. He shouldn't, but if he does, the mizbeach catches it. It's like a magnet, as we learned back on Daf Pei Dalet, right? Mizbeach is mekadesh. This type of material, which is possibly yaitse. So we see that even now, it still relates somewhat to the mizbeach. So understandably, if he did mala b'chutz on this, he's chayiv. As opposed to the case, Taimar b'shoicha b'chutz, u'mala b'chutz. If he did shchita and mala outside, it's a non-starter. It's totally disengaged from mizbeach potential. Shein kodesh mekabli. In this case, if he does the shchita outside to begin, even if he were to take it back and put it on the mizbeach, it's rejected. Right? So how could you compare? So basically, we had two responses. What's the difference between both? One and the other. Amar zeiri shchitas laila ikebenai. Suppose he did the shchita at night. So, according to Rebbe, who says that the writing criterion is shasa kosher, a moment in time that it was suitable. In this case, it was never suitable, even for a moment. Because the shechita, although it was in the mikdash, but it was at night, so it wouldn't really work. As opposed to the second, track, Rezer Shimon, who says the defining criterion is kodesh makabli, as long as it would be left on the mizbech if placed there. Well, in this case too, even shechita balayla has that quality. So in this case, it would be chayiv if he's mala b'chutz. Shchita sa'i k'benai. Rabba amar kibla b'chayil k'benai. Has a different shot. He says, suppose the shchita was on inside, but the kabbalah of the dam was done with a mundane, ordinary kli, not a klisharis. So once again, if you need shasa kosher, you don't have it. Okay, so in this case, if he's mala b'chutz, kosher basically leaves potter. But if the point is mizbeach mekabli, kodesh mekabli, even in this case, if something happened in the Beis HaMikdash, Rashi says it's called psuli b'kodesh. The psul happened, locally. So if it's placed on a mizbeach, you leave it there, and it's considered kodesh material, considered korban material, and if taken outside, even kodesh b'seglili, he would be chai from mala b'chutz. Kibla b'chayil k'benai. Okay, so bottom line is like this. According to Chachamim, in all cases, he's chai from mala b'chutz. Whether the shechita was inside, day, night, or the shechita was out, doesn't matter. Mala, he's chai. According to B'seglili, mala b'chutz is only chai if this korban had some potential to it. The shechita was inside in a way which makes it somewhat suitable. We have different versions, whether it's kodesh makabla or shasa kosher. Then we say mala b'chutz is chayiv, but if it's sheichat b'chutz, never had a moment of suitability, although he's chayiv for shechita b'chutz, but not for mala. Now, in similar fashion, there's another machlekes between these two opinions, a little bit off topic, but in terms of the underlying concept, it relates back to our discussion. A machlekes between Rabbi Yaglili and the Chachamim regarding a tamei shachal ben kodesh v'chulu. We all know that a person who is tamei may not eat korban material. At the risk of kares and chatas, right? So if he's tamei and he ate kodesh material, which is tahor, there's no question, kares kicks in. On the other hand, if he ate korban material, which is tamei per se, so now that's a good question, because perhaps the Isser Kares only applies when the person is tamei and the item is tahor and suitable for achila, proper korban material. But if the item is tamei, according to Rabbi Yaglili, there's no Isser Kares. Chacham respond by saying, look, but even you agree that if when the person is tamei and he eats something which is tahor, there's kares. But what do you mean? As soon as he touches it, it becomes tamei. Okay, Shapi Ka'amali Rabbanan. It would appear that the Chachamim's argument is a valid argument. Rabbi Yaglili, what's he going to... Rabba, I'll explain to you what's going on. I'll explain to you Rabbi Saglili's perspective. It really depends what happened first. It depends on the sequence of events. So again, we're speaking that the person is tamei and the item is tamei, right? Well, it really depends what happened first. Suppose it was first the person being tamei. In which case, if he eats any basar kodesh that's tahor, he's chayav kares. And then this piece of meat became tamei. The kuli amalei pli the chayav all agree. Even Rabbi Saglil agrees that he's chayav kares. Why? Shekain tumas aguf bekares, because the personal tumah which generates kares came first. He got his foot in the door first. So of course that prevails. Now, just before we continue, we're meant to know that, let's say, a person who is tahor ate carbon material which is tamei. Just plain like that. There's no kares, but there's issa of lav. You're not allowed to do it. But in this case, where he became tamei first, that triggered, that activated the kares liability. And that prevails. Keeping the question only is, if it went the other way around, the item became tamei, then he became tamei. So let's just break it down step by step. As soon as the item becomes tamei, it becomes forbidden for consumption by anybody, even a person who's tahor, because the item is tamei. There's a lav against eating it. So the question is, do we limit it? Does it get sort of frozen at the lav level? Or as soon as a person becomes tamei, which typically activates a kares liability, perhaps it gets upgraded, as far as he's concerned, to kares as well. That's the question. The Rabbanon say, Amrin Amigu. Sure, it gets upgraded, because when he becomes tamei, even though it happens second, Migu means since. His personal restriction upon becoming tamei is a very broad and widespread issur. He can't eat any kodesh. Not only this one that's tamei, he can eat anyone. The tar, anything. So since it gets activated, as far as it's concerned regarding tahor pieces, it applies to this tamei piece as well. Now he's chayav kares. Rabbi Saglili, we'll say migu. No, we can't add another layer of issur on a pre-existing issur. This item that became tamei was off limits due to the fact that it is tamei, which entails a lav, merely a lav, a lower level issur, and it stays there. It gets frozen in place. You can't add to it. Ask the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi. Okay, according to Rabbi Yossi, certainly the migul amrina. We don't say, well, since when I become tamei and I can't eat other tahor pieces, I can't eat you as well at the risk of kares. We don't say that. But the fact is, the tumas haguf that landed on me is much more severe and strict. It's a higher level tumah than your tumah, Mr. Basar. But tumas basar, let it land and be added as another layer and upgrade the issur of tumas basar. Because as Rashi explains, when I became tamei, not only is it a broader, more encompassing issur, it covers other cover materials which are tar. It's also more severe and strict. So due to those two advantages, it should also incorporate this piece of meat and elevate it, and upgrade it, and add another layer of severity to it as well. If I eat the basar that's tamei, it should be kares. Rav Ashi, who says my tumah status is more severe than the basar's tumah status? If anything, you can say the other way around. Rav Ashi, who says the tumas hagub chamura, my tumah is more severe. Perhaps the tumah on the basar is more strict. Shekain ein lo tahar b'mikvah. When I'm tamei, as soon as I hop into the mikvah, I become tar. But the basar, no way. There's no remedy. Can't put a piece of basar in a mikvah. It's a permanent tumah status. So perhaps that's more strict and more severe. So I can't add to it. I can't tinker with it. And therefore it stays put. It stays added as is, with merely a tumah of lav. Okay, so again we have a machlekes. Person whose tamei eats basar kodesh, which is tar, all agree there's kares. And even if the basar became tamei afterwards, according to Rava, there's still kares. But if it became tamei first and then I became tamei, Rabbanan say there's kares as well, because that adds another element of Isser to this item as well. According to Rabbi Saglili, it stays with Isser Lav and only that. Which is very similar to the previous discussion regarding the Sheikhad Mifnim Mal B'chutz, right? As per their arguments back in the Mishnah. Okay, now we speak about Sheikhad Mal B'chutz. Separate Isurim, separate violations and liabilities. Let's compare the two. Says the Mishnah Chomer, we find some strictness by the Shchita over the Malam in Baliyah. And vice versa. Ubali, we find the strictness by Malam, B'shchita over Shchita. How? Chomer b'shchita, there's a Chomer by Shchita, Sheshech l'hedit chayiv. He takes a carbon, does Shchita outside, even if he does it for his own sake, for a barbecue. He's chayiv carbs. V'amala l'hedit pater, but by Mala, the Isser, the carbs, is strictly if he had Hashem in mind. He did it in the wrong place, he had Hashem in mind. Otherwise, it's not called Mala b'chutz. So that's a Chomer by Shechit. Chomer Baliyah, there's a Chomer by Mala over Shechit. It's a joint effort. Two people are clutching the knife and doing Shechita outside their pater. Because it's only chayiv if it's one person alone. But if they both grab the limb of the carbon and put it on the mizbeach, chayav, and they're chayav, even though it's a joint effort. Okay, so in terms of intention, Shechita has an advantage. Even if he had in mind, his own personal use, that's called Sheichet B'chutz. Mala needs to be L'Shem Hashem. On the other hand, by Mala, joint effort is chayiv, not by Sheichet. Now, what if he does Mala piece by piece? Hela, Chazer v'Hela, Chazer v'Hela, Chayiv al Ka'aliyah. Each limb is a separate violation. Okay, so it does one limb, another limb, each one is separate. Divrei, that's Reb Shimon's opinion. But you see, no. He only chayiv one for the entire experience. Ein chayiv alachas. Now, where was Mala done? Do you need a formal, mizbeach, or even on a rock? We have machlokes once again. He's only chayiv if he does Mala on a proper mizbeach, a structure that he made outside the Beis Hamikdash. Reb Shimon Omer, it need not be a mizbeach, afilu hela ala sela, or la even chayiv in a boulder or a rock is chayiv. So we spoke about comparing the shchita, where intention is not really critical, and Mala needs to be L'Shem Hashem. Ma'ishna ha-Mala lehedit the potter. Why? If Mala was done for mundane reasons, he's exempt chsiv, because by Mala it says La Hashem, he had Hashem in mind. Well, guess what? B'shchita nami chsiv La Hashem. The same La Hashem is stated by Shchita as well. Well, Shani Asam Makro by Shchita, it's different. It says Ish. Rashi learns it means Ish sheshachat leish. The man did Shchita for an Ish, for mundane personal reasons. Well, Gabela Nami Ksiv Ish. The same language is used by Mala as well. How could you differentiate? Well, no. The word Ish by Mala is needed for something else and unavailable for intention purposes. To tell you that two people grab the Aver and do Mala Dachai. If so, apply the same interpretation to Ish by Shchita. It's not related to intention, rather to joint effort. It's needed. Two people grab the knife and do Shchita. Well, no. Can't say that. Shani Haslam Makrahu. By Shchita it says Ahu, which tells you only he did it himself. Echad, one man, but not in cohesion with somebody else. Well, the same Lashon Ahu says by Allah as well. So how can you differentiate? The word Ahu by Mala is needed for something else. To exempt a person who did it unintentionally, forced, misled, he's not chayiv kares. Ahu means when he's in full cognizance. Okay, so then apply the same definition to Hahu by Shchita. Coming to exempt. By Shchita it says Hahu twice. One for this, one for that. So according to this, that Shchita lahedit is chayiv. So why does the pasuk even say the word Hashem? Totally something else. To tell you that the Yisra of Shchita b'chutz, the Chiyav only applies if this carbon was meant for Beis Hamikdash processing, as opposed to a So'ir HaMishtalech, that's the goat that's sent out to the Midbar and Yom Kippur. It's a semi-carbon, but it's done outside. That doesn't qualify as La Hashem. And if that is shechted outside, he's not chayiv. Okay, bottom line is, Sheikhad lahedit is chayiv, Mala lahedit is pot. On the other hand, we have a Chaymer by Mala. If it was done as a joint effort, Mala is chayiv, shochet is pater. Tanarabanan, how do we know? Ish. By Mala it says ish. Matam, what's the point of ish, the double? L'rabba is to include a joint effort. Shnayim she'ochso be'ever v'elo shechayev. Because perhaps I can suggest otherwise. That they should be pater. Just like by shchita. She'ochel, perhaps I can say v'aledinu. Uma shechet lehedi shechayev. Even by shchita, where we say there's a weakness to it. Sorry, there's a strength, as we just explained. Because even if it's for personal use, he's chayiv. Despite that strength, still, joint effort is pater. Shnayim she'ochso b'sakim shochet b'turin. Certainly by mala, which starts off as a weaker position. Hamal l'hedyet, right? It's done privately. Shapater is exempt. So certainly, if it was done in a joint effort, you would say it's pater. Hamal l'hedyet shapater in edin certainly wouldn't lend to reason. Sheshnayim she'ochsu be'ever ve'alu b'tur. Tamalayim. That's why the pasuk says no ish. Divrei Pshat. Even if you coordinate it with somebody else, even if it was done by two people as one, they're chayiv. Rabbi Yisrael, he disagrees. No, he says just like by shochet, it needs to be done exclusively by one person, mala as well. Hahu by mala says echad v'shnayim, done by one person, not by two together. And came out hamlemi ish. So why ish, which sounds like there are multiple people involved? Well, that's just a mode of expression. Sometimes you say dibra Torah, Torah speaks the way people converse, meant for emphasis, but not really teach us new. But Reb Shimon, who took a different position, that by mala even two people together are chayiv. Hi, so this word hahu, which indicates oneness, mboile, what do you do with it? He needs it to exempt the person who is, not fully cognizant, not fully aware. How does he know this halacha? Because he already used hahu for the singularity. Muhu hahu. Could have said hu. Said hahu. So we have two halachas here. One is singularity and one is cognizance. Reb Shimon, no, he doesn't make a deal about hu hahu. He doesn't expound on it. One more question. So according to Reb Shimon, shnaim shehelu chayiv. According to Reb Yossi, pot. Now, Reb Shimon was coming from ish, right? Multiple people involved. Now, Rabbi Yossi, what does he do with ish? Rabbi Yossi, midahai, ish. So, as we explained, he learns that the ish over here by mala is merely, mode of expression. Dibra Torah glosh mnei adam. So then let's go back to shochet. We learned from ish that even shochet lahedyet is chayiv. Is sheshachat leish. How could you learn anything from ish? It's just a mode of expression, according to Rabbi Yossi. Hahu ish nami. That ish over there by shchita. There too. It's simply a mode of expression. Not coming to teach us anything. Dibra Torah. Kloshim leyadam. So now we're stuck. Ve'ela. So if so, hashochet lahedyet malei dechayiv. How do we know shchita for personal reasons, personal purposes? It's chayiv. Nafkalei learns it from a different pasuk. Midam yichashiv leishahu dam shafach. So we learned that the dam was leish. It was for personal purposes, personal consumption. Afilu is chayiv, even if he's hashaychet, he takes a korban, the shchita outside leish for personal reasons. Okay, so bottom line is, shchita has sort of an advantage because shaychet lehedyet is chayiv as opposed to mala lehedyet is pater. According to Reb Shimon, mala has an advantage. Shnayim shehelu is chayiv as opposed to shchita. Next machlekes. Let's say it was a partial mala, hela v'chazra hela. Now, what exactly was the machlekes about? According to Reb Shimon, it's chayiv for each mala separate. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's one chiyuv for everything. Are we talking about the whole animal? A whole limb? What defines, completeness? So we have no less than 3 approaches to the machlekes. Here comes number 1. Machlekes bedal v'heyivar. The machlekes in the Mishnah pertains to a fellow who did mala multiple times. One limb, another one. Right? Complete limbs. But instead of doing the whole animal at once, he did it in increments of limbs. Here's the machlekes. The Mar Savar. How many liabilities does he have? How many violations did he commit? The Mar Savar. So, Rabbi Yossi holds it's only one chiyuv chatas. Kiksev lasais oisoi, because the word oisoi, he did it. It means the full animal. Allah shalem hu chayiv. Eno chayiv ala chaser. It's one liability for the entire animal, not per limb. And Reb Shimon holds each limb is considered a separate entity, a separate chiyuv of mal. Akol be'emaksiv, right? It's going on the entire animal as well. Umar Sava, or Reb Shimon holds, right? Akol eva be'emaksiv. The term oyisoi relates to each limb separately. Separate chiyuv per limb. Aval ever echad, dirakol en chayiv al achas. But let's say he split the aver, the limbs, into parts. One piece on the mizbeach, another one. All agree. There's no separate chiyuvim. Certainly, there's no more than one chiyuv per limb, right? Okay, so according to Rish Lakish, it's a question of animal or limb. Rabbi Yechon Amar, there's a different approach. According to all, you don't have to do the entire animal to be chayiv. A limb would qualify. But let's just go back for a moment. If you recall, yesterday we discussed there are two. Yesterday and today, in the beginning of the daf, there are two levels of shchutei chut, so to speak. There is the behemoth that was shechted inside, which is at this point suitable for the mizbeach. It's called muktarei pnim, meant for the burnt inside. And then he took it and did the malav chutz. In this case, we could all understand that the material is more on a higher level, so to speak, because if it's meant for the mizbeach, actually, so even a little piece, even a part of a limb, has importance, has chashivas. In fact, we learned this a while ago that, there's something called peikin. When something pops off the mizbeach, even a little piece, you got to put it back. So we see that even a small portion, even a part of a limb has chashivas. It's considered proper carbon material, which needs to be tended to properly. So you can understand that by muktarei pnim, perhaps if he goes ahead and takes it outside and does malav b'chutz, it would apply even to part of a limb, which has chashivas. As opposed to muktarei chutz, if the carbon had been shechted outside, it's sort of a lower level now because it was puzzled right away. Not really suitable for inside at all. So here perhaps you can argue and say that the chiyuv of malav b'chutz requires a full entity, a full limb, right? So that's the machlekes. Rabbi Yechon's approach is like this. Rabbi Yechon Amar, machlekes. The discussion in our Mishnah. How much do you need for a malav? Be'ever echad. That's by muktarei pnim. And it's only part of an aver. He did another part outside. The Mar Savar, Reb Shimon holds, he's chayiv for each piece separately. Each piece, each portion of an aver, which could have been used for the mizbeach, has chashivas. Muktarei pnim shechasru, the ones that went for inside that went missing, meaning the limb was sort of taken apart. Ve'eloi b'chutz, and he took it outside, piece by piece. He's chayiv for each piece separately. Umar Sava Pater, Rasi says no. There's no difference between muktarei pnim and muktarei chutz. It needs to be a full entity, a full limb, at a minimum, to be chayiv. Umar Sava Pater, right? Aval b'dalad v'hei barin. But if he took the carbon outside and did limb by limb on the mizbeach, of course, to be able to chayiv, all agree. It's chayiv for each limb separately. Each one is a separate entity. Okay, so according to Rabbi Yechon, certainly is chayiv per limb, there's no question. You don't need the full animal like Rish Lakish's approach. The question is perhaps even less, on less than a limb. It's muktarei pnim. One says chayiv, one says pater. Upli gedula. This presentation of Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yechon is in disagreement with Ula, which provides yet a third presentation in terms of how to understand the machlekes. Damar Ula. Kol moedim, all agree. B'muktarei pnim, shechasru ve'elo b'chutz, shechayiv. All agree. If it's muktarei pnim, even if the limb is missing, takes it outside is chayiv because of its special significance, special value. Meaning even Rabbi Yossi would agree to that. Because, as we explained, there's something called paikin. When something is on the mizbeach and pops off, even a small amount, put it back. It has value. So even Rabbi Yossi agrees to that. And likewise, if he takes a little piece like that and takes it outside, he's chayav. L'nechel is only talmud-torah-chutz. The carbon started off outside. And then he was mala less than an aver. Shechasru, so the aver went missing, it got split. Ve'ele b'chutz, and he did it piece by piece. Damar sava potter. Rabbi Yossi says he's potter. It needs to be a limb. So half of a limb doesn't count unless he completes the whole limb. Umar Savachayev, Rabbi Shimon says no, each piece is a separate liability. Okay, so this is the third approach in the Gemara. If it's Maktorei Pnim, even less than a limb qualifies. Torah Chutz, you have a machlekes. Okay, so again, let's recap. We have three opinions. Rish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, and Ula. According to Rish Lakish, the machlekes in the Mishnah is whether you need a full animal to make mala. Rabbi Yochanan learns, no, at most a limb. The question is by Maktorei Pnim, perhaps even less than a limb. Ula says, well, all agree with Maktorei Pnim, less than a limb works. The question is by Maktorei Chutz. According to some, even less than a limb. There's a second version of Ula which is pretty much like Rabbi Yochanan. Hakol moedim, all agree with Maktorei Chutz. Shechasru v'hela b'chutz shu pater. All agree if it's Maktorei Chutz, if less than a limb is pater. Well, the question is only by Maktorei Pnim. Maktorei Pnim, shechasru v'hela b'chutz, it's missing, and he did it outside. Masar pater, masar chayiv. One says pater, one says chayiv. Okay, it's pretty much like Rabbi Yochanan, sort of. Upligi dabu d'shmuel. Alishn kamadul. Now, the first lashon of Ula, which was again that by Maktorei Pnim, even less than a limb qualifies because of the halacha of paikin, right? Because of its extra value. If it were on the mizbeach and pops off, a proper carbon, right? Pops off even a little bit, you put it back so it has value. It's considered a suitable carbon material, even less than a limb. According to all sheets, even Rabbi Yossi, right? Has value and he's chayiv b'chutz on that. But Abu, the father of Shmuel, disagreed with the first lashon of Ula. He held that according to Rabbi Yossi, there's no such value. Upligi Abu Shmuel lishn kama de Ula. Abu Shmuel disagrees with Ula's first lashon. The Abu Shmuel tells us, "Keman mahadrin and paikin." This halacha of paikin, right? If a proper carbon had been placed for burning on the mizbeach, and then midway a piece pops off, as sometimes happens, a fire just shoots off, a little piece is on the floor. Halacha is you have to put it back, return it to the mizbeach. According to whose sheet is that? Whose opinion is that? Command madrin and paikin l'gab mizbeach. Command like Rabbi Yossi. It's not like Rabbi Yossi. He holds a little piece, has no forgiveness. You don't have to put it back. Well, that's not in line with Ula on the first lashon, who says that according to all opinions, even Rabbi Yossi would agree that when the carbon had been, considered Maktorei Pnim, even a little bit has value because of the halacha of paikin, which requires us to return even a small piece to the mizbeach. Okay, just for a brief summary here, we have machlekes in the Mishnah. What constitutes mala? How much do you need to do to be chayiv for mala? So we have Reb Shimon, we have Reb Yossi, and three ways to understand the machlekes. According to Rish Lakish, Rabbi Yossi holds only a full animal is called mala, whereas Reb Shimon says even a limb. According to Rabbi Yochanan, there's no question even a limb works. The question is by Maktorei Pnim. Perhaps even a less than a limb works. Right? And according to Reb Shimon, he's chayav. According to Rabbi Yossi, you need a full limb. Ula is the third approach. He says, by Maktorei Pnim, all agree, even less than a limb qualifies. Machlekes by Maktorei Chutz. Rabbi Yossi says Potter. Reb Shimon says Chayav. Now, where did this mala take place? On a real, mizbeach outside or on the floor? So, according to Reb Shimon, only on a proper structure, properly structured altar. Sorry, that's the Tanakama. Reb Shimon says even a sela, boulder, or rock works. What's Reb Yossi's source? That only a Mizbeach qualifies. This was before Matan Torah, before the Mizbeach of the Beis HaMikdash. Noach made an altar. He troubled himself to build an altar. So you see that even a Bamas Yachad, a private altar, it's not considered an act of Hakrava without a Mizbeach. Some sort of structure. Of Rabbi Yechon, my time to Rabbi Shimon, who says no, that even a boulder works. We have a different source by Noach. Very similar name to Noach. What did he offer this carbon? On a boulder. So we see even that works. What does he do with the pasuk of Noach? He talks about a mizbeach. He just called it a mizbeach. It just means an elevated surface. Even not a mizbeach. What about the pasuk of Vayikach Noach? What does the other sheet to do with that? So it was a one-off, an exceptional case, but typically a mizbeach is needed. An alternate route would be like this. Reb Shimon sources his opinion based on a brisa. But we see that a mizbeach is not a factor, unless it's in the Beis HaMikdash. Otherwise, it has no value, there's no purpose. Even a stone is considered maluk. The pasuk says he puts the blood on the mizbeach pesach oil moed. We learned that mizbeach relates to oil moed. If you have an oil moed, a proper sanctuary, proper Beis HaMikdash, then you have a mizbeach. The bama is no point of a mizbeach when it's just a personal bama outside. Therefore, hella ala sela 11 chayiv. If he does mala on a stone, on a boulder, he's chayiv. Hold it. Who's talking about being chayiv? We're talking about when it was permissible. There were periods in history when it was permissible to have a bama, when there was no mikdash, right? So he's teaching us that when you are allowed to bring a carbon outside, don't trouble yourself making a bama. Don't go through the effort. It's not really a necessary, right, requirement. But then the Brisa concludes that he's chayiv. What did he do wrong? Therefore, he does mala on these things, he's chayiv. What do you mean? Yotzim Bavli should have said that he fulfilled his obligation, he did a proper carbon. What do you mean he's chayiv? What did he do wrong? No. That's exactly his point. It's basically two sides of the same equation, two sides of the same coin. If a boulder qualifies as a suitable location for offering a carbon when it was permissible to do so then likewise, on the flip side, when it's forbidden to do so, is considered a violation, right? It goes hand in hand. He means like this. Therefore, b'shas isra abomis hella ala sela even chayev. Since even a regular stone qualifies when it's allowed, on the flip side, when it's not allowed, even a stone would trigger liability. Okay, so we have this machlekes, whether mala needs a mizbeach or just a plain stone, machlekes. But Rabbi Yossi, Chanina, one more question. When it was permissible to bring a carbon on a bama? And according to Rabbi Yossi, that a mizbeach is required. Does that mizbeach have to conform to the design specifications as a mizbeach in the Beis HaMikdash? Square, ramp, the keren, sticking out on top. To what extent does it have to be modeled after a proper mizbeach? But keren, the corner on top of the kevesh, the ramp yisoid, the foundation, the squareness. Are they critical by a bama as well? Tanya, it depends. Public bama, yes. Private bama, no. Keren, Bekevesh, Ribor, Yisoid, Ma'akvan Bama G'doyla, by the public bama, yes, it's critical. Ve'ein Ma'akvan Bama G'tama, not by a private bama. Okay, then you could do it however you want. Choose your design as you see fit. Okay, pretty extensive, detailed daf today. So, for mala, to be chayiv, it needs a kazayas. The question regarding including the bone or the salt. But machlek is regarding shchita that took place outside. Is there then a chiyuv for mala as well? Machlekes. We discussed a person became tamei. after the basar became tam. Is he chayiv kares for eating that basar? There's a chaymer by shchita, even shechet lahedid is chayiv. Chaymer by mala, even shnayim are chayiv according to Reb Shimon. At what point is it called mala? According to some, the full animal, some the full aver. According to some, even by less than an aver, if it's miktori pnim is chayiv. Mala is only on a mizbeach, or according to Rabbi Shimon, even a sela or even as per the story of Manayach. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.